CBS Sports mocked 3 Sooners for the first round in their Tuesday mock draft. We got to talk about it after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You got to help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. So CBS Sports mocked 3 Sooners for the first round of the NFL draft just days after the NFL scouting combine was ended. Now, I find this interesting, right? Because I made a video, I did a segment about, did these guys do enough to vault into the first round? Of the 4 of them that were invited to the scouting combine, you have Jalen Hurts, of course, Neville Gallimore, Kenneth Murray, and CeeDee Lamb. Now, many people believe that CeeDee Lamb is a first-round selection. He's a consensus mock first-round selection by almost everybody. As a matter of fact, I would love to know who doesn't have CeeDee Lamb mocked as a first-round selection in a very deep wide receiver class, which is why I found it interesting that CBS Sports mocked him not just to the first round, but to the Dallas Cowboys at number 17. Now, I need to set that up by saying they have the Las Vegas Raiders taking 2 defenders with their picks, including Patrick Queen and Kavlon Chasen. So apparently they have them falling in love with LSU defenders, which is not a bad thing. And they also have Auburn defensive tackle Derrick Brown headed to the Arizona Cardinals, right? So I get perhaps you want to put a premium on defenders, even though you might have needs at wide receiver, because the number of good defenders in this draft is not as great as the number of wide receivers who are also good in this draft. So if you think that T. Higgins is going to be there, or, Jerry Jeudy's probably going to be gone, Henry Ruggs is going to be there, there's a number of guys, Laviska Shenault, you could pick from and feel good about that. But mocking him to Dallas 17, I found it odd when Bucky Brooks did this at NFL Media, because the Dallas Cowboys have a need that is safety. And they've had a need that is safety for some time. Not unlike Oklahoma, who's had a need at safety basically since Tony Jefferson, right? That's a bit of shade, but you get where I'm going there, because Pat Fields and Delarian Turner-Yell played well at times, and when they played well, the defense played well, but you need a safety. You need a slot corner. This is why Bixby native stand-up Chris Harris has talked to 24 teams, among them the Dallas Cowboys, perhaps about playing some slot corner, right? Because you need that. But in drafting CeeDee Lamb, you would be able to let Amari Cooper go or transition tag him for the 1 year and see if y'all can't run it all the way to the Super Bowl and then let everybody go their separate ways, because you're going to pay Dak after having already paid Zeke and Jalen Smith, and you got one of the better offensive lines in the NFL, but they're still aging. But if CeeDee Lamb dropped out of the top 10, I'd be a bit shocked by that, and I would be shocked still if Dallas used that pick on CeeDee and not Xavier McKinney or, say, Grant Delpit out of LSU. And then at number 26, CBS Sports mocked Kenneth Murray to the Miami Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins have holes everywhere, but they were just average, and in some cases below average, at the linebacker positions in the middle. We know who Kenneth Murray is. He is an elite athlete at 6'2", 241 pounds, dropping a 4.5 in the 40. Outstanding sideline-to-sideline speed. He is tremendous in making up ground on players that he seems to not have any shot at getting at, and yet I feel like he plays at 4.4 even if he ran 4.5, and he was impressing everybody with his stories about his charisma and his humility and his faith. His brothers and sisters to saving a woman's life on the freeway. You know what you're getting. You're getting a captain and one of the best athletes in this draft, and what he lacks in football intellect, you'd hope to teach him, or that he could continue to develop there in the scheme that you're setting him up with. And I think Brian Flores would be in a great position to do this, and it would be interesting to see if Chris Grier was willing to do that, because they have 3 first-round picks, and we expect them to use one of them on Tua Tagovailoa, if he's still there, to be their quarterback of the future. But mocking him to Miami, it's like, okay, I get it. I could see that. The talent alone says we got to take him and then hope that he fits. Then right behind him at number 27, they mocked Neville Gallimore to the Seattle Seahawks, who weren't really great on the defensive line, and we'll see what happens with Jadeveon Clowney, but adding Neville Gallimore means you're adding one of the best defensive line athletes that we've seen in 15 years, right? He dropped 4.79 in the 40-yard dash a year after Quinnen Williams dropped 4.8, and everybody was going, my God, he's flying. Now, Khalil Davis also went and blew this up, running 4.75, but he does not have the film that Gallimore has for this past year. Now, this was the guy that we all expected to be basically a disruptor on that defensive line back in 2015 when he decided to sign with Oklahoma, when it was down to Oklahoma and Ohio State coming out of Canada. But it took 5 years for that guy to show up. Some of that I think you can attribute to the scheme. Some of that I think you can attribute to Mike Stoops making him play a nose and eating blocks, as opposed to saying use your elite hand fighting skills and your elite quickness and your motor to split tackles, to split guards, to split the center, and get after that quarterback in the backfield and try to make problems, right? You don't want these problems. That's what it should have been. Just him, all of his career was what we wanted to see from him. All of his career was what we got in 2019. You just wanted him to be the guy that says, you don't want these problems for an entire game. And not many people did, right? It's not a whole lot of people that got to say that they ran right over the top of Neville Gallimore. My only issue with that is he's much older than some of the kiddos, 2 years in some cases for the guys that came out early after 3 years, and he's graduating and then some. But also he's only got the 1 year of really excellent film. Everything else is you just are drafting him on what he does in the interviews and expecting him to play in the same sort of defense that he played in with Alex Grinch, which is defensive line friendly. Jalen Hurts is the odd man out here for reasons that we all understand. He's just not the passer that Jordan Love is, that Justin Herbert is, that Tua Tagovailoa is, and that Joe Burrow is. But he certainly should have leapfrogged Jake Fromm in this discussion, because not only was he a better athlete, running 4.5, which is flying for a quarterback, but he was so impressive in his whiteboard segment with Steve Mariucci, where they were drawing up stuff and they were having fun, and he was the loosest that I've ever seen him, and I felt cheated because I wanted to see that guy for an entire year at Oklahoma, because now that you know that it's in there, you kind of want to see it full time. The us versus me mentality in front of the media, I think someday he's going to soften, and he's going to be one of the most charismatic and cool coaches to hear speak that we would have in the sport, or even quarterback at this particular juncture in his career. But Oklahoma hasn't had 3 first-round draft picks since 2010 when they had 4. Sam Bradford, right? Remember him? Trent Williams, remember him? Gerald McCoy, remember him? And Jermaine Gresham, right? Those guys all went in the first 21 picks. That 2010 draft was elite. Now, Sam ended up being King Finesse. We get all of that. Trent Williams had a great career. I still think can have a great career. We'll see what happens later on. And Gerald McCoy is nearing the end of, what is an outstanding 10 years, quite honestly. And I think he's going to go down as one of the best Buccaneers to ever play, alongside guys like Warren Sapp and Simeon Rice and so forth, especially on that defensive line. But it is saying something. It would be saying something tremendous if Oklahoma could get 2 defensive draft picks in the first round. It's just not something we're used to saying at Oklahoma, right? Even that 2010 draft class only has Gerald McCoy playing on the defense, right? And if you can get this reputation now that with Alex Grinch as the defense coordinator, you can go back to turning out defensive talent into the draft. The guys like Roy Williams, who went, number 8 overall in 2001. Matter of fact, that was the last year that the Dallas Cowboys ended up taking a safety in the first round. Then you can really start to make some headway with these 4 and 5 star defensive players, particularly on the defensive line, because you'll be able to show Gallimore came here, he became a first-round draft pick. With the linebackers, you'll be able to show Kenneth Murray Jr. came here, 3 years later, he became a first-round draft pick. So on Tuesday, March 3rd, it's really cool that somebody believes that 3 Sooners are going to get drafted in the first round, but it's cooler that 2 of them play defense. All right, that's it for me. Deuces.